In our lives, we often meet challenges that feel like insurmountable walls. We face moments of confusion, pain, and deep uncertainty. It is in these moments that we meet the alchemist. He is not a mythical figure in a dusty old book, but a symbol of the potential within each of us. When the alchemist encounters hardship, he does not point fingers. He does not blame the world, his circumstances, or the people around him for the weight on his shoulders. Instead, he turns his gaze inward. He understands that his struggles, his pain, and his shadows are his to carry, his to understand, and ultimately his to transform. This is the first and most crucial step on his path to radical ownership. He accepts that this journey, with all its thorns and trials, belongs to him completely. This concept of ownership is not about self-blame. It's about empowerment. When you blame others, you give away your power. You become a victim of your story, waiting for someone else to come and rescue you or for the world to change. But the alchemist knows that true change begins from within. By owning his pain, he reclaims his power to respond to it. He says, "This is my feeling, this is my challenge, therefore I have the ability to work with it." He sees his life not as a series of random events happening to him, but as a curriculum designed for him. Every obstacle is a lesson in disguise, an opportunity to learn something profound about himself and the nature of existence. This shift in perspective is everything. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack. You could spend your entire journey complaining about its weight, blaming the person who packed it for you. Or you could stop, open the backpack, and examine what is inside. The alchemist chooses to open the backpack. He looks at each item, each fear, each past wound, each inherited belief, with curiosity, not with judgment. He knows that he cannot lighten the load by wishing it away or pretending it isn't there. The only way forward is to engage with what he carries. This courageous act of looking within is what sets him on the path of true transformation. It requires honesty, vulnerability, and a deep-seated belief that he has the strength to face whatever he finds inside. So the alchemist's journey begins not with a grand action, but with a quiet internal decision. It is the decision to stop running, to stop deflecting, to stop waiting for an external savior. He chooses to stand still, to feel the full weight of his reality, and to take responsibility for his own healing and growth. This is not the easy path, but it is the only one that leads to genuine freedom and wisdom. He invites us to do the same, to look at our own lives, our own struggles, and to ask ourselves, what if this is not happening to me, but for me? This simple question is the key that unlocks the door to your own inner alchemy, where your greatest challenges become your greatest teachers. The alchemist understands that the challenges he faces are not created in a vacuum. He sees them through the lens of karma. Now, when we think of karma, we often think of a simple cause and effect system. You do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. But the alchemist's understanding is deeper and far more compassionate. He sees karma not just as an individual ledger of actions, but as a collective inheritance. It is the accumulated energy, the patterns, the unresolved stories, and the emotional DNA passed down through our families, our ancestors, and even our shared humanity. He knows that some of the burdens he carries are not entirely of his own making, but have been handed to him. This perspective allows him to hold his struggles with a sense of grace. When he feels a wave of sadness, anger, or fear that seems disproportionate to his current situation, he doesn't judge himself for it. Instead, he recognizes that he might be feeling the echoes of his parents' unspoken grief, his grandparents' anxieties, or the collective wounds of his culture. He sees himself as a link in a long chain, and his work is not just for his own liberation, but for the healing of the entire lineage. This view transforms personal suffering into a sacred responsibility. He is not just healing himself, he is healing the past that lives within him and creating a healthier future for those who will come after him. Think of it like a river. The water flowing past you today contains traces of every stream and tributary that has fed into it for miles and miles. Our emotional lives are much the same. The feelings we experience are a confluence of our personal history and the much larger river of our ancestry. The alchemist doesn't try to separate his water from the river. He accepts that he is part of this continuous flow. By acknowledging this shared karma, he cultivates a profound sense of connection and empathy. He realizes that the person who hurt him was likely acting from their own inherited pain, their own karmic patterns. This doesn't excuse their actions, but it allows him to see them with compassion, freeing him from the prison of resentment. This understanding of shared karma is incredibly liberating. It dissolves the illusion that we are isolated islands of suffering. Instead, it reveals that our struggles are part of a universal human experience. Your anxiety is not just your anxiety. It is the anxiety of generations. Your feeling of not being enough is a story told and retold throughout human history. The alchemist embraces this truth. He recognizes that in healing his own pain, he contributes to the healing of the collective. He sees his personal work as a service to the whole. This is why he doesn't get lost in self-pity. His journey is bigger than just him. It is a journey for all of us, a testament to the shared human quest for light. When faced with immense pressure or pain, our natural instinct is often to resist or project. We fight against the feeling, trying to push it away, or we blame someone else for causing it. The alchemist, however, chooses a different path, the path of surrender. Surrender, in his world, is not weakness or giving up. It is an act of profound strength and wisdom. It means allowing a feeling or a situation to be exactly as it is without trying to change it, fix it, or escape from it. He stops fighting the wave and instead learns to ride it. He understands that the more you resist a feeling, the more it persists and the stronger it becomes. This act of surrender is an inward movement. Instead of looking for an external solution or a scapegoat, the alchemist brings his full attention to his inner landscape. If he feels anger, he doesn't immediately lash out. He sits with the anger. He invites it in. He asks it, "What are you here to teach me? What injustice do you want me to see? What boundary have I allowed to be crossed?" He treats the emotion not as an enemy to be vanquished, but as a messenger with a vital piece of information. By doing this, he creates a space between the feeling and his reaction, and in that space lies his freedom and his power to choose a conscious response rather than an unconscious reaction. Practicing surrender requires immense presence. It means staying in your body, even when it is uncomfortable. It means breathing through the tightness in your chest or the knot in your stomach. The alchemist knows that emotions are physical energies that need to move through us. When we resist them, we trap them in our bodies, where they can fester and lead to chronic stress or illness. By surrendering, he allows the energy to flow. He might physically shake, cry, or simply breathe deeply, giving the emotion the release it needs. He trusts that no feeling is final and that if allowed to run its course, it will eventually pass, leaving behind a gift of insight or clarity. This process of surrender is the opposite of projection. Projection is when we take an uncomfortable feeling inside of us and attribute it to someone else. "You are making me angry," we might say, instead of "I am feeling anger." The alchemist avoids this trap. He holds the hot coal of his own emotion, knowing that throwing it at someone else will only burn them and spread the fire. By surrendering to his own experience, he contains the fire within his own inner forge. It is there in that sacred space of presence and acceptance that the real work of alchemy can begin. He learns that the only way out is through, and surrender is the key that opens the door. Once the alchemist has surrendered to his pain, he enters what he calls the inner forge. This is the sacred internal space where the messy, heavy, and dark elements of his experience, the lead, are transformed into something precious and luminous, the gold. This is not a passive process. It is an active and intentional one. It requires courage, introspection, and a willingness to sit in the heat of his own discomfort. The forge is where he takes the raw material of his suffering and begins to consciously work with it, not to eliminate it, but to transmute it into a higher form of energy, wisdom, compassion, and strength. The first step in the forge is deep inquiry. After allowing an emotion to be present through surrender, he begins to explore it with gentle curiosity. He asks himself questions like, where have I felt this before in my life? What is the deeper story this pain is telling me? What core belief about myself or the world is being challenged right now? He is like a detective of his own soul, searching for clues and patterns. He might realize that a recent rejection triggers an old wound from childhood, or that his anger at a colleague is rooted in a long-held fear of not being respected. This process of connecting the dots is what begins to turn raw, chaotic pain into coherent understanding. This is where the alchemist truly turns lead into gold. The lead is the raw, painful experience, the betrayal, the loss, the failure. The gold is the wisdom that is extracted from it. For example, a painful betrayal might be transmuted into the gold of stronger boundaries and a deeper understanding of who to trust. A devastating failure might become the gold of humility, resilience, and the courage to try again with more awareness. The alchemist understands that wisdom is not the absence of pain, but the meaningful integration of it. He doesn't discard his experiences. He honors them as the very substance from which his strength is forged. Every scar becomes a map to a hidden treasure. This transformation is not about intellectualizing pain away. It is an embodied process. The wisdom he gains is not just a thought in his head. It is a feeling in his body, a new way of being in the world. He feels more grounded, more compassionate, and more connected to his own inner truth. The fire of the forge burns away his illusions, his egoic defenses, and his limiting beliefs, leaving behind the pure, indestructible essence of his spirit. This is the heart of alchemy. It is the miraculous process of taking the heaviest parts of our human experience and discovering that they are, in fact, the source of our greatest light and our most profound gifts to the world. The alchemist does not walk his path alone. He has a constant companion, an inner collaborator he calls the artist. The artist is the part of his consciousness that deals in images, feelings, stories, and memories, while the alchemist works with the raw energy of an experience. The artist is the one who gives it form and narrative. When the alchemist sits in the forge with his pain, the artist brings forth the memories associated with it, the sights, sounds, and emotions of the past. The artist's role is not to trap the alchemist in history, but to provide the raw material needed to create a new and more empowering story. Together, the alchemist and the artist engage in a creative dialogue. The alchemist, with his commitment to truth and transformation, guides the process. The artist, with a palette of emotions and memories, paints the picture. For example, if the alchemist is working with a feeling of abandonment, the artist might bring up a vivid memory of being left alone as a child. The alchemist doesn't push the memory away. Instead, he invites the artist to repaint the scene. He might visualize his adult self going back to comfort his younger self, giving him the love and reassurance he needed at that moment. This creative act doesn't change what happened, but it fundamentally changes the emotional meaning attached to the memory. This collaboration is how we make sense of our suffering. Pain without meaning is just suffering. But when we can weave our painful experiences into a larger narrative of growth, resilience, and learning, the pain becomes purposeful. The artist helps the alchemist find the thread of gold in the darkest tapestry. A story of I was a victim can be recrafted into I am a survivor who learned the depths of my own strength. A memory of failure can be reframed as the crucial turning point that set him on his true path. The artist is a master storyteller, and with the alchemist's guidance, they co-create a personal mythology that is empowering and life-affirming. This partnership reminds us that healing is a creative process. It's not a linear, mechanical fix, but really it's an art form. We all have an inner artist who remembers everything and an inner alchemist who seeks to transform everything. By bringing them together, we can do more than just cope with our past. We can turn it into a masterpiece of wisdom. We can honor our memories without being imprisoned by them. We can acknowledge our wounds while refusing to be defined by them. The alchemist and the artist show us that the meaning of our lives is not something we find, but something we create every single day, with every feeling we choose to transform. In our modern world, we are often taught to avoid pain at all costs. We numb it, distract ourselves from it, and pathologize it. We see pain as a sign that something is wrong, a problem to be solved or eliminated as quickly as possible. The alchemist, however, holds a radically different view. He sees pain not as an enemy, but as a sacred messenger. He believes that our deepest wounds are also the source of our greatest gifts. He refers to this as the sacred wound. The very place where we are broken is the place where the light can enter, and also the place from which our unique light can shine out into the world. The alchemist understands that avoiding pain is avoiding life itself. To live fully is to feel everything, the joy and the sorrow, the love and the loss, the victory and the defeat. When we selectively numb ourselves to the difficult emotions, we inadvertently numb ourselves to the beautiful ones as well. A heart that is close to grief is also close to profound joy. The alchemist chooses to keep his heart open even when it hurts. He knows that this vulnerability is not a weakness but the very foundation of a rich, meaningful and deeply connected existence. He chooses to feel it all, trusting that every emotion has a purpose and a place in the grand tapestry of his life. Think of a tree that has been struck by lightning. The scar it bears tells a story of survival. The wood around the wound often grows denser, stronger, and more resilient. In the same way, our personal wounds, when we tend to them with care and consciousness, can become sources of incredible strength, compassion, and empathy. The person who has known deep loss can offer the most profound comfort to someone who is grieving. The person who has battled their own inner demons can guide others through the darkness with a steady and knowing hand. The alchemist doesn't hide his scars. He sees them as symbols of his resilience and testaments to the wisdom he has earned. Embracing our pain is therefore not a morbid or masochistic act. It is an act of profound self-love and courage. It is the willingness to meet ourselves in our entirety, not just the parts that are polished and presentable. The alchemist knows that his wholeness includes his shadows, his flaws, and his unhealed places. By turning toward his pain with acceptance and curiosity, he integrates these fragmented parts of himself. He learns that true healing is not about becoming perfect, but about becoming whole. His sacred wound is not a mark of shame, but a badge of honor. A reminder that he has lived, he has felt, and he has had the courage to transform his suffering into service. One of the most profound lessons the alchemist teaches us is that we are not fixed, static beings. He himself is a living embodiment of transformation. You cannot define him by a single identity, a single role, or a single moment in his past. He is not the man who was betrayed or the one who failed. He is a process, a continuous flow of becoming. He understands that identity is not a noun, but a verb. It is something we are constantly creating and recreating through our choices, our responses, and our willingness to grow. This fluidity is his greatest strength, allowing him to adapt, evolve, and shed old skins as he moves through life. Many of us get stuck because we cling to rigid identities. We define ourselves by our jobs, our relationships, our accomplishments, or even our traumas. I'm an anxious person. I'm a failure. I am unlovable. These labels, when we repeat them enough, become self-fulfilling prophecies. They create a prison of our own making, limiting our potential and keeping us trapped in old patterns. The alchemist consciously resists this tendency. When he notices himself clinging to a label, whether positive or negative, he gently lets it go. He reminds himself that he is not the story, he is the storyteller. He is not the emotion, he is the awareness that holds the emotion. This constant state of flux can be unsettling for the ego, which loves certainty and definition. The ego wants to know who it is and where it stands, but the alchemist finds his security not in a fixed identity, but in his unwavering trust in the process of transformation itself. He is comfortable with the unknown. He is at home in the space between who he was and who he is becoming. This is the ultimate freedom to not be bound by your own history. He knows that every sunrise offers a new opportunity to choose who he wants to be, free from the baggage of yesterday. His past informs him, but it does not define him. The Alchemist invites us to see ourselves as rivers, not as statues. A statue is rigid, unchanging, and brittle. A river is fluid, adaptable, and powerful. It constantly lets go of where it has been and flows towards what is next, shaping the landscape as it moves. To embrace this alchemical perspective is to give yourself permission to change. It is to allow yourself to outgrow old beliefs, to shed relationships that no longer serve you, and to evolve into new versions of yourself. The Alchemist is not a destination you arrive at. He is the perpetual journey of transformation. He is a living reminder that our true nature is not to be a thing, but to be a flow. At the core of the Alchemist's practice is a simple yet powerful mantra. It is not a phrase he repeats mindlessly, but a deep, orienting principle that guides his every action and perception. He returns to it in times of joy and in times of sorrow, in moments of clarity and in moments of confusion. This mantra serves as his anchor, constantly reminding him of the path he has chosen to walk. It is a call to embrace the totality of his human experience, to integrate the light and the shadow, and to find the sacred in every single moment. The mantra is a distillation of his entire philosophy, a key that can unlock the inner forge for anyone who chooses to use it. The mantra is this: all of this is welcome here, all of this is fuel for the fire, all of this is part of the gold. Let's break this down. The first part, all of this is welcome here, is a radical act of acceptance. It is a declaration that nothing is to be rejected. The anger, the fear, the shame, the joy, the peace, the confusion, it is all invited in. This immediately dissolves the internal war we so often wage against ourselves. It creates a space of unconditional self-compassion where every part of you has a right to exist. It is the practice of surrender and presence made into a simple, actionable thought. The second part, all of this is fuel for the fire, speaks to the process of transformation. It reframes every experience, especially the difficult ones, as raw material for growth. It is a reminder that the pain is not pointless. It is not just something to be endured. It is the very substance that will be transmuted in the inner forge. This changes your relationship with hardship. An obstacle is no longer a roadblock. It is a log being added to the fire that will ultimately create more light and warmth. This perspective infuses every challenge with purpose and potential, turning you from a passive victim into an active participant in your own evolution. Finally, all of this is part of the gold, is the ultimate statement of integration and trust. It affirms that the wisdom, the compassion, the resilience, the gold is not separate from the pain, but is in fact made from it. The final beautiful product contains the essence of everything that came before. Your strength is forged from your struggles. Your compassion is born from your suffering. Your wisdom is the beautiful result of your healed wounds. This final line brings a sense of peace and wholeness, recognizing that the entire journey, with all its messy and beautiful parts, contributes to the final masterpiece of who you are becoming. The Alchemist invites you to try this mantra in your own life, especially when things are hard. The story of the Alchemist is not a fairy tale. It is a practical guide, a roadmap for navigating the complexities of your own life, the principles he lives by. Ownership, surrender, transformation, and creation are available to every single one of us right here, right now. You do not need a secret laboratory or a magical stone to practice alchemy. Your life is the laboratory, your experiences are the raw elements, and your consciousness, your willingness to engage with your life on a deeper level, is the transformative fire. The journey from lead to gold is the human journey, and it is your birthright to walk this path of purpose and meaning. Begin by embracing the alchemist's first step, ownership. The next time you face a challenge or a painful emotion, resist the urge to blame or deflect. Instead, turn inward and say, "This is mine to work with." Feel the shift in power that comes with that simple acknowledgement. Remember the idea of shared karma to soften the edges of your pain, knowing you are part of a larger human story. This will help you hold your struggles with compassion rather than judgment. Seeing them not as a personal failing, but as a collective wound you have the honor of helping to heal. This is the foundation upon which all other steps are built. Then practice the art of surrender. When a difficult feeling arises, don't fight it, breathe, allow it to be there. Create a space for it in your awareness and let it move through you without resistance. As you do this, you step into your inner forge. It is here that you can begin to collaborate with your inner artist. Ask yourself what story this pain is telling you and how you can reframe that story into one of strength and resilience. What is the wisdom, the gold hidden within this leaden experience? Look for the lesson, the growth, the new perspective that this challenge is offering you. Finally, carry the alchemist's mantra with you as a daily practice. In every moment, remind yourself all of this is welcome here. All of this is fuel for the fire. All of this is part of the gold. Let this be your guide as you learn to embrace your entire self and your entire life. The path of the alchemist is a promise that nothing is wasted. Every tear, every struggle, and every scar has the potential to be transformed into something beautiful and strong. You have the power to turn your own pain into your greatest wisdom, your deepest wounds into your most profound gifts. Your journey of alchemy awaits.